A judge in Baltimore today overturned the murder conviction of Adnan Syed, whose case was featured in the hit podcast Serial, and ordered his release from prison. Syed, now 41, walked out of the courthouse after spending more than 2 decades behind bars.
In vacating the ruling, the judge found that the original prosecutors did not turn over evidence to the defense that could have helped Syed. And evidence uncovered since would have added, quote, substantial and significant probability that the result would have been different.
The decision to vacate Syed's conviction came down just hours ago, and tonight he's back home with family. And as you can see in this video, one of the first things he did is go right for the fridge and dive into some leftovers.
I'm sorry, this is an insane story. This guy was sentenced to life in prison. Then years later, a podcast brings attention to his case, and now after 22 years locked up, he gets to go home. And I know people are celebrating this, and I understand why, but I'm going to be honest with you, I find it weird that America confuses fixing a mistake with a happy ending. You know what I mean? And be like, good news, we got out of Afghanistan. Well, why were you there in the first place? Good news, we got emergency water to Jackson, Mississippi. Why do you need emergency water? Good news, we took all the pink slime out of the meat. The pink what now? And so yes, happy, but come on, people, you know? I will say it was heartwarming, though, to see him back home with his family eating leftovers, you know? Yeah, no, just because knowing families, there's probably one uncle who's like, who the hell had my leftovers? I know you did 20 years, but I was saving that. But can you imagine that guy was in prison since the year 2000? Think about all the things he's missed out on. Huh? He's going to be chatting to his friends like, oh man, I'm so excited to be free. Let's go to an R. Kelly concert. They'll be like, got some bad news. Yeah. But this does raise a big question, right? What does it say about America that it takes a podcast to help free a man from prison? Because what I think it says is that either America needs to reform its justice system, or podcasts need to become part of the justice system. Yeah, think about it. Everyone hates jury duty, but everyone loves podcasts. So maybe we get rid of juries and just have everyone in America listen to the podcast. And then they all vote. It just becomes a nationwide jury. They're paying attention. They actually care. Yeah, because this is something I've realized. If you add entertainment, Americans are always interested. Like, nobody wants to sit in a courtroom, but people have watched 700 seasons of Law and Order. Sometimes during jury duty, they're like, this is boring, I'm gonna watch more law. Think about it, if the trial was a podcast, everybody wins, right? Justice is served, jurors on board, and best of all, everyone gets to go home with a promo code for a shirt that you don't have to tuck in. Now, here's the thing. The full story is this. It wasn't just the podcast that helped free Syed. What happened was, Syed got lucky enough that his case came up for review to a prosecutor who used to be a public defender, right? And that prosecutor dug through the case files deeper than she had to and found all sorts of problems with the original prosecution. So she asked the judge to vacate the conviction and let Syed go. Yeah, and they did this while they decide whether or not to put him on trial again. But remember, the prosecutor didn't have to do any of that. She could have just said, yeah, maybe it wasn't a completely fair trial, but tough shit. But no, she said no. If we're going to put somebody in prison, it has to be without any doubt. And that shows you the difference between a justice system that wants justice versus a system that just wants to put people in prison. This prosecutor is like those employees in the shoe store who offer to check in the back when they don't have your size. You know what I mean? When they actually go, like, well, let me check in the back, as opposed to those employees, we're like, sorry, man, I ain't got your size. You're like, can you check in the back? They're like, no, it'll be better if you just chop off your feet. I'm not gonna lie.